Next month will mark 20 years since Lonnell Matthews Jr. lost his younger brother to drugs and violence. And in a way, he's reminded of it every day. As Davidson County's juvenile court clerk, he sees the all too frequent heartbreak of families with kids in trouble. But he also knows that sound strategies and priorities can offer a lifeline.
Anytime you see someone come into a system carrying a lot of trauma, a lot of adverse childhood experiences, and they leave that system better than they came, then you appreciate it. You have to watch out for the friends they keep, and you have to intervene when you see them hanging around the wrong people.
Lonnell has been tapped by the mayor to head a new community safety task force, and he recently had an epiphany that's led to writing a book on parenting. I'm Demetria Kaladimos. It's Banner and Company. Well, here we are back with full electricity and heat and everything else. How did your family fare during the storm?
Yeah, so my family, we fared fairly well compared to the rest of the city. We had some family and friends that we were very concerned about, that we were staying in touch with. But all in all, our biggest challenge were keeping the kids busy during the break and making sure that they were staying up on the studies that their teachers were sending them, and not just wasting the time, but using it as productively as they can.
Yeah, and you had an observation in the courts that kids had something else on their minds.
I guess during the height of the crisis after the winter storm, there were only 2 arrests, and so those are very low numbers for the duration for almost a week's time. And really, it was due to low activity in the community. When more people are at home, there tend to be more eyes on the community and what's happening. I think kids are aware of that, and it's a deterrent to them getting into trouble.
Yeah. You know, it's been more than 10 years, but some folks will remember a Nashville Scene cover story about you, written by my Banner colleague, Stephen Hale, and it was titled, Next Mayor. Okay, was that a surprise to you, or was it a curse to have that expectation thrown out?
So I knew the story was coming out. I didn't know what title Stephen was going to give the story. And so Stephen worked on the story, seemed like he worked on it for maybe 2 or so weeks. And he sent me the cover the day before, the evening before, actually. And I saw the cover and I was like, oh, wow. And I was in the middle of a council at large campaign, which I did not win, ironically, in 2015. But probably helped put a target on my back at that time. Yeah, I was first just humbled at the title that he gave the story. I didn't know what angle he was covering. I just thought he was interested in a young kid from North Nashville that got into public service, and it truly was humbling, to say the least. But definitely has intrigued some curiosity on my side on what is possible in the future.
Yeah,
so.
It did raise your profile, though.
It did. Certainly helped. Like I said, put a target on my back. So I think it just caused more questions into what type of leader I wanted to be internally for me. I didn't necessarily look at myself in that particular light or even having those type of ambitions. But it really caused me to think about, how are other people seeing me and why are they seeing me like that? And am I really contributing the skills and the resources I have to the best of my ability to impact people of Nashville the greatest?
You are a Nashville native, but in a way a product of 2 different Nashvilles, wouldn't you say?
Oh, certainly so. 2008 was, I think, changed the trajectory of the city, I would say. It really changed the trajectory of the country at that time when you think about the recession and everything that was happening nationally. But Nashville just had a different response to the recession that was tremendous. And I think about growing up here in the 80s, 90s. It was always just a small, quaint town. Like, it was a little country town. Like, we were a city, by all accounts, to some of our neighbors. You think about Ashland City, Springfield, Mount Juliet. Nashville was the city, but we still fit in with that country, Southern life, and that's how I grew up. And now we are truly becoming a metropolis that can compete with the rest of the metropolises in the nation.
Talk a little bit about your childhood. You were growing up, and then about age 13, you were transferred to a different school and sort of a different life and a different crowd.
Yeah, oh, you did your homework. So that 13 was a turning point for me. So I grew up in North Nashville, in the Metro Center area behind Luby Center, in between 11th and 12th Avenue North, on a little street called Cecilia Avenue. My grandfather actually built a duplex. He was a mason worker and carpenter, and he actually built that duplex by hand before he and my grandmother divorced, and he moved to Chicago. And after my father graduated from Austin P, him and my mother, so I was born 1979. We actually went to live with my grandfather in the west suburbs of Chicago, Maywood, for about 4 years. And then we came back to Nashville because my mother's family, she's the oldest of 8 siblings, and she wanted to be closer to her siblings. Her mother passed away during that time that we were in Chicago, and it brought us back here, and we moved into that duplex with my grandmother that my grandfather had built. And growing up in that North Nashville area, I remember summers at Luby Center. I was a latchkey kid, and so I was bused out to Andrew Jackson Elementary School all the way out in Old Hickory. But when I got home, it was probably 4:30 or 5 after being bused across town.
Right.
My parents worked 2 jobs, and so I went to the community center at Luby Center after school, or I went to the library until they got off work, and then we went back home, had dinner. Summers were an interesting story because my mother went to work, said, "Don't leave the house," told me and my brother, "You better not leave the house until I get home. Don't go outside." And we didn't listen. We went outside anyway. And,
of course.
We would play football in the yard with our friends. We would tell all of our friends, we have to play in our yard because if our mother comes home, we need to be able to go in the back door very quickly. So it didn't seem like we had gone anywhere. But that's how I grew up. It was, I grew up in a very isolated area. I didn't really know Nashville outside of North Nashville except for Old Hickory because I went to school out there. But I didn't know about the Bellevues, the Belmeads, even Antioch at the time I was growing up. And when I was 13, my parents were fortunate enough to work very hard, were able to purchase their first home out in the Bordeaux area. And we moved to Bordeaux, and really, a lot of the parenting decisions they made around that time probably changed the trajectory of my life and where I've ended up today, which I'm very thankful for. But yeah, I had a very fortunate upbringing. My parents both are together today. They worked very hard to provide for our family. They tried to create opportunities for us. They introduced us to a great village of mentors and coaches and just people that will help guide us along the way. And now everything that I do is really to try to create the same or more opportunities for Nashville's youth today.
Yeah. It was you and your late younger brother who shares the same name.
He does. So we
Is that something in your family, or was it unusual?
No, it was unusual until I learned about George Foreman and his kids.
That's right, George the 6th and 7th.
But yeah, we had the same first last name, so we're both Lonnell Matthews, but we had different middle names. And, but everyone called me. So my mother she has a brother named Lonnie, and so they actually called me Lonnie growing up. Some of my cousins, they called me JR because I was a junior. And my brother, he always went by his middle name. So his middle name was Jaffa Rise Patois, Jamaican Patois. My aunt, Sandra Matthews, she was a reggae singer. And so she actually gave him his middle name, which is Jamaican Patois. It stands for, it means God's flower.
Wow. Ironically, he also had the nickname Lucky.
Yeah, he did.
Why?
So he had a stint as trying to be a rapper at one point, and so he was just trying to think of what could my moniker be as I'm trying to enter the music industry and the music world, and he loved mob movies. So the Godfathers, the Goodfellas, yeah. Bronx Tale, like we would watch all of them, and he was just enamored by some of the backstories. But there was one in particular, I can't remember the name of the movie, but it featured Lucky Luciano, and that was like his favorite mob character out of all the mobsters, and so he kind of took that on as his moniker.
Yeah, I do remember when your brother was shot and killed. It was, as I recall, on surveillance video, and they were able to solve it, or at least zero in on a young man very quickly, weren't they?
They were. I could tell you at the time I was grieving, I really didn't pay attention to the details of what happened. And honestly, it happened a year before I decided to run for Metro Council. So I went through like this time of depression, but I almost went straight into keeping myself as busy as I could, but using the excuse that I was trying to, help my family by just having some positive activity going on, by really impacting our community in a positive way. It wasn't until COVID that I really sat down and I was like, man, I really hadn't grieved my brother properly. And I started to look back over the case and started to look in some of the details. And it was 2020 when things slowed down that it all came back to me, and I really started to process that.
Yeah. You have said that, just a few decisions separated your path from your brothers.
Yeah, I gave a speech one year. I can't even remember what year it was now, but it's probably the best speech I feel like I've ever written or delivered. But it was called The Tale of Two Brothers. And I talked about how we had essentially the same upbringing. I mean, both parents. We did a lot. I mean, when it came to youth sports, our first sport was both baseball. We played for the same coaches. I was part of a high school fraternity. He joined that high school fraternity as soon as he was able to. We both went to MLK, graduated from Martin Luther King Magnet School, entered TSU. So in my mind, we had the same trajectory, but one of us has ended up in court, working for courts and working for a system, and the other one ended up in front of the bench, in front of a judge, because of some of the activities that he got involved in and the crowd that he was hanging around.
Yeah. Did you ever sense, growing up that close, same household, that he was going astray and that you possibly had a way to talk to him, or?
Man, so that's something that it kind of gets to some of the regrets I have about me and my brother growing up and how close. I mean, we were really close. One of my best friends in the world probably died.
Share the same room?
We did share the same room until I was 13, and we moved to Bordeaux. And in the duplex, we shared. It was a 2-bedroom house, and so we were on bunk beds and. The whole nine. Actually, a funny story. One of the summers we were sneaking out, there was this little stone in the yard. And so we would play pick-up Smith, which is a version of football. But you just pick up the ball, you try to run for touchdown, and everyone tries to tackle you. And someone tackled him on the stone, broke his collarbone. We didn't know it. He was crying, and we couldn't get him to stop crying. Went in the house. My grandmother was a nurse, so she came home during lunch. We had her look at him. She touched. She was like, "Oh, I think it's broken. You're gonna have to come to the hospital. So I'm gonna have to call your mother." We're like, "No, you cannot call her mother." So the story was he jumped off the top bunk bed playing Superman, and that's how he broke his collarbone. My parents later told me they didn't believe that story when we brought it up and tried to tell them the truth when we were in our 20s. But anyway, we grew up in a time where we didn't really understand the trauma surrounding us, all the things that impacted our lives, our family background, our family history. And we didn't talk about it, especially in the Black community, the way that we talk about those things today, in terms of not stigmatizing them, making it acceptable to acknowledge them and work on yourself, work on your well-being, work on your mental health. And so as my brother was growing up and he was starting to hang around people that really embraced street life and drug culture and that type of activity, it was, I hate to say it like this, but it was normalized in our community and in our life. And so even though people try to encourage him and tell him, like, you have so much potential, you definitely could do more, he was still enamored by that life and the people that he chose to spend time with that probably didn't have as much potential as he did or just had less ambition. They kind of drug him deeper into the life. I remember there was one point in time where my brother, he sold narcotics, and so he sold drugs. And when he was shot, it was actually a drug deal gone bad. But there was one time in my life where I was working, at the YMCA, and I'm still in college, and I didn't have enough money to pay my rent and gas. And I was literally like embarrassed to talk to my parents about it. It's like, man, I'm really struggling, waiting on my next paycheck to come around. I just paid my rent. So now I'm struggling to get back and forth. And I drove to my parents' house and I was almost on empty. And my brother gave me some money and I was like, where'd you get this money from? And I wanted to really just have that conversation, but I'm like, man, I really need the money. Right. And so how can I kind of chastise him for giving me money and I know where he got it from, but it's money I need. And I was torn at that moment. And I kind of think back on that moment like, man, I really should have still been a better big brother and tried to encourage him more than I did. And I did try to encourage him. And he had other friends that went to MLK that were some of his best friends that really tried to encourage him. And I'm sure you'll probably ask about Kaylee, his daughter. She was born 3 weeks before he passed away. I think had he had more time with her,
fatherhood might have changed him.
Yeah, he would have definitely have turned the corner. But hindsight is 20/20, and those are just some of the regrets I have to live with.
Yeah. You've done so much work, though, with young people that you must have an extraordinary sort of radar for those who need your help and intervention. I mean, do you see him in a lot of these?
I do. I see him in a lot of young people. I see myself. I see myself in my brother even. I feel like, and I had this conversation with my barber last week, because we were talking about just raising our kids, and my barber said something that made me think about my brother. He said, you have to watch out for the friends they keep. And you have to intervene when you see them hanging around the wrong people. I think that's really, when I think about the parallels of me and my brother's life, and I think about some of the differences and where we kind of had different paths, it really comes down to our circle of friends, our influences. And so for young people that I work with nowadays, one of the things that I tell them is most important is value your time and be very selfish with your time.
It's Banner and Company. I'm Demetria Kalodimos. We'll be right back. When we launched Banner & Company more than a year ago, we wanted to help you get to know your Nashville neighbors. One of the best ways to know a neighborhood is to tap into the experience of a realtor or two who really know the city and the region. Richard Courtney and Lisa Peebles are a pair to draw to, as they say. Kind of like matchmakers, they have the experience and relationships to connect you with people and homes that best serve your personality and your lifestyle. And with more than $1 billion sold, you can bet you'll be in good company. To connect with Richard Courtney and Lisa Peebles, visit NashvilleLuxuryEstates.com. You, of course, are now juvenile court clerk, running for re-election, right?
I am up for re-election in May. I'll turn my petition in hopefully next week and be qualified. I'm hoping that I will be unopposed, but we'll see if someone else jumps in the race before February 19th. But yeah, I love the work. I've been in this position since 2018. I love the work that I've been able to do in collaboration with Judge Sheila Calloway. She is out of all the public servants that I've had the pleasure and the fortune to work with, she is probably the most consistent on a day-to-day basis and authentically herself. And I've seen her, we're church members, so I get to see her outside of court.
You get to hear her sing, too.
I get to hear her sing.
She can sing.
And she spends personal time with my kids. She's over our children's church. But no matter what setting I see her in, I see her at a lot of community events, a lot of social events. She's always Judge Sheila Calloway. She's Sheila Calloway no matter where she goes, and what you see is what you get. But she's just a great visionary leader for young people and what we could actually do for young people as a city.
We are so lucky to have her.
Yeah.
You're also chairing a community safety task force.
Yes.
What are we doing right? Let's start with that.
Yeah, so I'm one of 29 people on the task force. So I hate to say I'm speaking for the task force, but this is my personal opinion. What are we doing right? I think when it comes to city and resources, we are doing a lot to give young people positive social experiences. So investing in third spaces like community centers, public libraries, parks. I think that's a very positive thing that we've done. I think the creation of summer internship and job learning opportunities, we've gotten right as a city. I think we could do more of that. But even having the ability and the courage to go from 500 jobs, I believe, in 2015 to almost 5,000 jobs the next year in 26. Well, no, it was 2017. So it was a 2-year period where we tried to really increase the capacity of that program, but also working with other private industries, private companies on just creating more opportunities. Our schools have done a good job with project-based learning and the academies model of introducing different careers and industries to our students. And so I think just giving students more hope and more opportunity for what their future could look like has done a great job of reducing violence and making our community safer. I think just exploring the opportunity to address mental well-being from a different perspective, like having the mental health co-op representatives go out with law enforcement, go out with firefighters. I think those are innovative models, and we are starting to destigmatize and decriminalize some issues of mental well-being that historically have been criminalized, with making our community safer. There's room for improvement too, but I think those are some of the things that we've done really well.
What I know the group is new, but what are y'all talking about in terms of problems and solutions that might rise to the top of the list?
So It is fairly new. I won't say that we've had a lot of conversation. We've had one meeting. Our second meeting was, of course, canceled or postponed because of the winter weather. But I will say that we have started to look into data. And so we're exploring community safety from a public health perspective. And the task force is really charged with a scope of work outside of law enforcement. So what are community-based initiatives that we could put resources into, that we could bring to the city, that we could pilot, test out, that will help support and reinforce from a preventive lens or intervention lens that will supplement the need for law enforcement. So law enforcement is a response unit. What can we be doing proactively to prevent violent instances and instances where people feel unsafe in our community with community partners, nonprofits, and the resources that exist in the community already?
Do you think there's opportunity? It always seems to me that even an unruly kid at their core has respect for their elders. And I'm talking like grandparents and the gray hairs, the folks that they really do look up to. Is there an opportunity to get our seniors perhaps involved with youth on the wrong path or troubled youth and to the betterment of both?
Certainly. I think that's a huge opportunity to do more of that. That's one of the main community outreach initiatives of my office in partnership with the Mayor's Office and Metro Nashville Public Schools is My Brother's Keeper Nashville Partnership. And within that partnership, we're trying to close the achievement gap for boys and young men of color, but it's from a system level perspective of how do we improve the system, and if we can improve it for the lowest performing students, we improve it for everyone, right? Yeah. But within that, we do it from a cultural lens, and that cultural lens causes us to look at helping students understand their affinity, understand their roots, where they come from, the historical context.
Sense of belonging.
Yeah, sense of belonging, and making sure that they are connected with elders in the community is part of that structure. And I could tell you when we do that with our MBK events, and we actually call elders and we define it, and we let people know, this not to be offensive, but elder is a term of endearment. It shows that you have knowledge. It shows that you have wisdom. It shows that you have all of these things that you bring to the table that people can learn from within our community. They really pour into the space, and the kids and the students we work with, they're really receptive because it comes from a place of authenticity when the elders really get to come in and be themselves, and the kids could connect, empathize, they could really understand and start to realize, okay, now I understand why some things are the way they are in my community. I have some historical context behind them. I'm able to move forward in a way where I feel comfortable with who I am, but not confined by the limits that probably have been placed on me because of systematic barriers that have been put in place.
Yeah. Seeing what you see every day in terms of the court records of kids in trouble.
Yes.
Knowing your personal life touched by violence. Are you an overprotective parent now? You know kids are going to be kids.
Kids are going to be kids. I had that response to your question because I'm actually writing a book on parenting. And it started off, I knew I wanted to write a book. I didn't know what type of book I wanted to write. I didn't know if I wanted to write about my own life. I kind of want to tell my story, but I didn't want to just do a memoir. And I don't think anyone's going to be interested in reading about Lonnell Matthews. My family, I probably have 100 book sales if I did that. But I thought about, where does my professional and my personal life kind of cross over? And parenting was just a natural thing I landed on. But the way I landed on it was because I don't just I want to talk about my parenting style. I want this to be helpful for other parents to be able to read, but I don't want to give a solution too, because I don't know if what I'm doing is working. And I probably won't until my kids are adults. And so I'm going to write the book and we'll know if what I'm talking about is successful 10 to 12 years from now, right? But I want to start a dialogue. I want to start a conversation. And the perspective, well, let me tell you how I got to the book idea real quick. So my kids were in summer camp. There's another family that my wife and I are very close to, and their kids are the same age as our kids, but they have two girls. I have my youngest, Pilar, is a girl, and my oldest, Ari, he's a boy. So he's the only boy, though, and we're always around this other family, and they went to summer camp together. So they went to the same camp, and I come home one day, and my wife is talking to the other wife, and they're talking about the kids' day at camp, and the oldest daughter of the other couple had gotten bullied at camp that day. Ah. And so I'm getting undressed. I'm trying to unwind. I'm really not trying to listen to the conversation, but I'm eavesdropping and I'm intrigued. And my wife, she starts to get agitated, like hearing about the other daughter getting bullied. And she starts asking the other mother, I wonder why Ari didn't take up for her. You know, he's a boy. He should have intervened. Should have stepped in. And so she gets off the phone, and she's obviously irritated, and she almost starts to like take this beeline toward Ari's room. And I stop her, and I'm like, "Hold on, what are you about to go do?" And she says, "I'm going to go talk to Ari and see why he didn't, step up and take up for him." And we call them cousins. Why he didn't take up for his cousin? And I said, "You have to pause. Let's pause. Let's talk about it." I said, you have to really understand, Ari has grown up, and we've been raising him from a place of privilege. We probably didn't grow up like that, but Ari has never, to my knowledge, seen a physical fight or conflict in his life. Like me and my wife, we make a point, even if we have disagreements, we handle it civilly. We don't yell, we don't argue back and forth in front of the kids. I don't think my kids, they went to, well, Ari, he's at Head Magnet now, but he went to Purpose Prep Academy. I've never heard of a fight at that school. I don't think he's seen it at school. I was like, he hadn't been around conflict. So I don't think he's going to intervene or put himself in a place of conflict. And you have to understand that before you go chastise him about something he's never even experienced before.
Right.
And I mean, we had a really just interesting conversation, and it got me thinking, like, man, the way we're raising our kids is completely different from how we were raised. And so my book is going to explore my upbringing and how my parents raised me versus how we're raising kids now, and the effect that trauma has had on especially Black communities when it comes to parenting in America.
Yeah, yeah. Are your parents both still with us?
They are. They are both still with us.
How have they done in the ensuing years?
So it's been a challenge, especially on my mother. They still deal with depression, and I think older people in Black communities still they struggle with trauma being acceptable. They still struggle with well-being being something that is not stigmatized. So they are able to find joy and find motivation and find inspiration in, I think, family members that are still here, especially my niece, my brother's daughter, getting to raise her. But I still think they struggle with the loss that, and I don't understand it. I mean, even though I'm a parent now, I couldn't even imagine, having experienced the loss of a child. And so for me, I try to be there. I try to be supportive. I try to broach conversation, but not push them into the conversation. And just get them to open up and express their feelings, even if it's anger, if it's hurt, disappointment, whatever it may be, because it's healthy just to talk about it in community and try to keep them from isolating themselves too much.
Kind of like the way you got busy instead of getting sad or grieving. Do you? I mean, I would assume that you probably have advised people to deal with what they're dealing with at the moment and not put it off.
Oh, I definitely have. And I mean, I go to therapy. I advise people, if you need to talk to someone, seek professional help. If you're not comfortable with that, at least, seek out wise, sage counsel from people that have gone through similar experiences, just so that you're getting good advice, that you're having good, positive dialogue and conversations about things that are really tragic and traumatic.
It's Banner and Company, and my guest is Davidson County Juvenile Court Clerk Lonnell Matthews Jr. We'll be right back.
Well, the holidays have come and gone once again, but if you've forgotten to get that special someone in your life a gift, well, Mint Mobile is extending their holiday offer of half off unlimited wireless. So here's the idea. You get it now, you call it an early present for next year. What do you have to lose? Give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Limited time 50% off regular price for new customers. Upfront payment required. $45 for 3 months, $90 for 6 months, or $180 for 12-month plan. Taxes and fees extra. Speeds may slow after 50 gigabytes per month when network is busy. See terms.
We've talked a lot about tragedy.
Yes.
I assume you see success stories coming out of juvenile court.
Oh, certainly. It's what keeps myself, I think most of the staff that are there, is what keeps us going. It's when you do see those wins. And, in juvenile court, juvenile delinquency, of course, is kind of the appealing part of juvenile court, but the parentage issues are the majority of what we're dealing with. And so, seeing parents reconnect with their kids that they haven't been able to visit with after a year, that's a huge win for me. Seeing a parent complete some substance abuse classes or complete whatever kind of course a judicial officer may have ordered that they had to take to be reconnected with their kids because there was some abuse or neglect in the household. Those are all wins for us. We see kids graduate, even kids that are in detention pre-trial, waiting on their trial to happen. They're still in school, and we've seen kids actually graduate while they're in pre-trial detention. And to see the opportunities that we're able to create anytime we are able to bring a new community partner into juvenile court and create a new experience or expose kids to new skills, and you see those light bulbs go off, you see their interests just peak. There have been kids that have been in the detention center and have connected with organizations like Southern Word, and they get out of detention and they continue to connect with those organizations. And you get invited out and you get to see them and you're like, oh, you're still y'all made this connection while you were at juvenile court. Those are all huge wins. When anytime you see someone come into a system carrying a lot of trauma, a lot of adverse childhood experiences, and they leave that system better than they came, then you appreciate it.
Job well done.
Yes.
Yeah. Banner and Company is a production of the New Nashville Banner. This episode is produced by Steve Harouche and edited by me. The original music is by Verlin Thompson. You can subscribe wherever you get your podcasts or go to NashvilleBanner.com. You're in good company. Our last question is always in the fishbowl. So you get to pick it.
Okay.
We don't know who might have posed it.
Where might it have come from?
We don't know. Open up and find out.
From, and I hope I don't mispronounce this, but I may, so I apologize in advance, from Anas Saba. What was the
last meal that made you smile?
Question makes me cry, and I don't know why. Last meal that made me smile. Wow. I've been fortunate to really have some great meals But I would say the last meal that was really memorable, I was on a trip with some friends, and we were in Belize. It was a friend's 50th birthday. It was last April, and we were in Belize, and we went to this seafood restaurant, and it was almost like a market because you could go out and they had all the seafood frozen market style, and you took a plate and you picked all this raw seafood and put it on your plate, and they would take it back to the kitchen and make it. But just being in that setting, being around great friends, celebrating one of our friends reaching the milestone of 50 was just amazing to be in the company. The people of Belize were just so wonderful. The food was delicious. I love seafood. But anytime I get to have good food and I'm surrounded by friends and families and loved ones, that's a meal that's worth it.